Okay, Assalamualaikum. Selamat kembali ke Fast TV. Jadi hari ni kita bersama dengan CR-V generasi terbaru. Dan bersama saya hari ni kita tengah memandu ke Penang. Version yang kita dapat sekarang ialah hybrid EHEV. Dia ada dua version yang kita dapatkan bawa, iaitu hybrid dengan 1.5 turbo V spec. So dua-dua kereta ni spec dia lebih kurang sama except for the engine lah. Jadi untuk yang sekarang ni hari ni kita akan mengarah ke Ipoh. Dan lepas tu kita akan bertukar kereta besok kepada RS yang V punya dan V, dan kemudian balik kita akan pakai yang EHEV ni balik lah. So the planning is kita akan cerita untuk ni sekejap dan kita akan masuk yang the 1.5V, kita akan cerita yang tu pula. So perbezaannya yang utama ialah of course the powertrain lah. Kalau kita tengok dekat sini, dia ada spek dia tu macam sedikit mengelirukan, pasal untuk yang version 1.5 turbo tu senang lah, kita nampak dia punya power dia about 190 and then ada 240 plus Nm of torque. Tapi kat sebelah sini punya yang EHEV ni ada dua maklumat, di mana dia ada maklumat power output untuk engine dan juga maklumat power output untuk the motor. Yang engine tu, because it's an Atkinson cycle 2 liter, Atkinson cycle ni dia punya priority ialah untuk energy efficiency, and therefore dia memang slightly lower energy density. Antara sebabnya ialah sebab dia menipu dekat dia punya compression dengan power stroke. Dia has slightly longer power stroke compared to compression stroke, and dia main on the valving lah. So you see that the power output, although it's a 2 liter, is lower than the 1.5 turbo at 148. Tapi bila kita tengok dia punya motor output is about 184 if I'm not mistaken.
We are going to make way now.
So the shortfall in terms of power daripada dua power source tu, because kita kena tengok yang motor, sebab the motor drives the wheel most of the time. So shortfall dia sikit lah dalam 9 horsepower, 9 PS, and the torque pula bila kita tengok the 1.5 turbo punya torque is about 240 plus, and this one is 335. So the advantage memang banyak lah. You can nampak kat situ dekat dia punya acceleration time, di mana the others are around 7 point something, 7.5 untuk the V, dan it's actually 5.0 untuk yang EHEV ni. So the acceleration time is obviously going to be better kat sini sebab of torque, higher torque from the electric motor and instantaneous torque from the electric motor. Tapi top speed, this is where electric motor ni dia bukan tak boleh pergi top speed tu, tapi it becomes so inefficient that susah you nak dapat good fuel economy. So what Honda does is they restrict lah top speed tu. So you see the top speed, kalau yang untuk the petrol engine is about 200, yang ni about 187 if I'm not mistaken. Untuk achieve the top speed tu memang kena pakai electric motor. So tapi tak boleh nak dapatkan the great fuel economy yang you would get from electric motor. So what they do is dia ada speed range, if I'm not mistaken, untuk kereta ni is between 80 and 120 kalau you driving on low load. Low load tu aku tak tahulah berapa dia punya load sensing dia dekat dia punya gearbox tu, tapi on low load condition dia akan run directly ke tayar tu melalui engine terus ke tayar. So untuk most of the time motor elektrik akan run the tayar, tapi ada certain dia akan swap pergi ke engine, itu at low load condition. Basically engine tu dengan gearbox tu is a single speed punya arrangement, and it's likely to be an overdrive punya arrangement lah, or at least 1-to-1 lah. The 7.7 to 7.5 tu ialah the fuel economy liter per 100 km untuk engine ICE, tapi untuk kereta ni 5 liter per 100 km. So there's a significant 1/3 saving lah, 1/3 punya penjimatan. So that's going to be quite significant kalau you pandai pakai. So untuk hybrid ni, dia punya pemanduan itu you kena kadang-kadang bend your mind sikit, sebab dia running mostly on electric. So you kena try and figure out macam mana nak take full advantage of the electric, and then also take full advantage bila kereta ni driving on ice. So right now, typical untuk aku lah, bila kita masuk je highway, aku akan terus hidupkan adaptive cruise. Aku suka set at 120 sebab that's a good speed, but right now today we're running in convoy, kita nak ikut dekat sikit. We're gonna increase the cruise speed yang kita set supaya dia boleh ikut dekat dengan kereta depan. Now aku on the lane keeping sekali. So this whole thing is now running on lane keeping as well as adaptive cruise, and aku dah set 1 bar sekarang untuk kereta depan, and this is what 1 bar looks like. And kau nampak ke depan tu braking, dia akan manage and adjust the braking. So on this car, beza dia dengan the other adaptive cruise control system on like say the city ke, yang ni ada radar sekali. Kalau tak silap aku sampai Civic pun masih tak ada radar lagi, hanya menggunakan kamera visual only. So yang ni ada visual, ada radar, and of course ultrasonic lah. For most dia memang ada ultrasonic untuk front sensor and rear sensor bila parking tu. So among the differences lah, kita nak cerita sikit perbezaan kereta ni. So macam aku cakap tadi mula-mula, kereta ni dia punya perbezaan rekabentuk daripada luar tu ialah dia dah menggunakan gaya baru Honda, di mana dia punya surfaces and the proportion is more traditional and calmer, lebih tenang. Tak ada permukaan-permukaan yang pelik-pelik, all these weird angles that Honda used to use for I think like 3 generations of car. There are weird stuff that's going on that makes it unique. It stands out as a Honda, but not necessarily cantik from all direction. But now bila dia dah balik kepada more traditional punya proportions and surface treatment, kereta ni nampak more evergreen, lebih lama lagi lah. So one of the kesan bila dia bagikan cermin ni lebih tegak ni, so the windshield comes closer to us, dia nampak panoramic. So that feels more natural untuk the driver. But the effect of this thing is that aku rasa, I don't know whether this betul ke tak betul, but the moment aku masuk, aku rasa macam dashboard ni dekat sikit dengan aku, because of the way that it's designed. The dashboard feels like it's coming a little bit closer to me. And this could be true because tadi one of the presentation dia kata what happens that bila aku turn my steering wheel, my shoulder does not lift up as much as in the old CR-V, which probably means either the steering has come forward or the seat has come forward lah. But I think it's because the steering has come back just a little bit, and that's why this whole thing feels slightly closer to me. Now I personally find that a little bit undesirable. I prefer dashboard jauh sikit, but for some people it might be just fine. By the way, the seats sebelah kanan ni boleh adjust for height, so that's fine. Aku boleh turun sampai rendah. But if you're sitting on that side, dia tak boleh. It's a single height, and you're sitting slightly higher than this seat bila turun habis. Other than that, the interior design is again sama macam dalam Civic. It's very nice, a lot of parallel lines, very formal design language, which makes it feel a lot more easy to understand, a lot more easy to appreciate. So you tengok the finishing pun is now of higher quality, I feel. Detailing ni especially for higher quality. And one of the things yang bagi nampak detailing tu nampak cantik ialah bila digunakan this honeycomb punya pattern dekat dia punya aircon vent. The mind or I ni memang suka benda yang repetitif dan kecil-kecil. Dia nampak mahal, dia nampak macam jewelry. That's why jewelry tends to have small repetitive patterns. And dekat sini kita tengok dia orang dah tak banyak sangat gunakan piano black. Piano black dekat sini dia menggunakan piano black tu used to be the trim, but now piano black is in the detailing. So dia bukan pakai jadi strip nipis-nipis macam ni kat piano black kan, tidak tu the whole thing piano black, which makes it, aku tak suka sebab leaves a lot of fingerprints. Ni sekarang kecil-kecil ni tak apa, it looks much nicer, and there is this metallic trim dekat sini, and the whole thing I feel is far more mature and more adult-like, which will not appeal to some people, tapi untuk aku I think a good transition untuk Honda, because as you want to move up in the value chain ataupun the branding, the value of the company, the value of the brand, you can make the product appeal to a wider base. And having a unique design is great to establish your name, but then you have to slowly pull back to something yang looks a little more elegant, and this is how this is working out. And you'll notice that sekarang ni aku tak menggunakan aku punya pedal sebab the car is running on adaptive cruise. This is the perfect time for me to have adaptive cruise. Masa raya, Chinese New Year, Christmas, cuti sekolah, jam macam ni, then I'm fine. So kenapa aku suka sangat cerita pasal adaptive cruise control, dan aku dah kata banyak kali benda ni should be made mandatory, sebab bila kita memandu ataupun apa-apa aktiviti yang kita buat, benda yang membuatkan kita penat ialah bila kita kena fokus banyak. So when the activity becomes a low focus activity, then it's not as tiring. Fokus tu maksudnya apa? Kita kena fokus macam-macam kita memandu ni. Kita nak kena fokus visually, nak tengok merata, kita kena fokus dekat tangan steering, kita kena fokus dekat kaki untuk throttle dengan brake. So this what do you call fine motor control yang buat kita rasa penat, because that is the one that requires a lot of focus. So now when I'm driving, I no longer have to worry about throttle and brake. I just tengok depan and I just check here, then kereta nampak, aku nampak, dia nampak, dan aku nampak dia punya maintain the gap, and the gap is comfortable. I don't have to worry about that. That's one less thing for me to worry about, making me slightly less tired. And of course bila you ada the lane centering tu, that's not for nak lepas tangan, tak. That lane centering is very useful bila hang bawa kereta seorang-seorang, hang dah mudah nak mengantuk. Because kadang-kadang bila kita dah mengantuk tu, kita tengok kita punya rest area mungkin lagi 20 km. 20 km can be 15 minutes, can be 20 minutes, can be 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Tapi whatever it is, it's still time yang you kena stay awake nak sampai. So this thing kadang-kadang akan bantu kita. Dan of course in this car dia orang ada monitoring untuk driver. Maksudnya kalau kita erratic driving, dia tengok banyak kali kena remind, dia akan keluarkan a reminder untuk kita rest. So these are the sort of things yang sangat membantu. Dan aku puji Honda, because this time around kalau kita tengok dia punya spec sheet dia, the Honda sensing is standard all across. There's some features yang hanya ada dekat setengah-setengah variant, tapi basically it's all, semua ada lah. Features aku rasa yang ada hanya available on this top spec car, and also V if I'm not mistaken, ialah auto high beam yang boleh select kat mana dia nak highlight. It's a very important safety feature yang underrated. Ramai orang tak cerita pasal benda ni. Aku suka bila kereta ada auto high beam dan bila kereta ada adaptive beam, especially kerana aku suka drive malam. So when you're driving at night, typically kita kena selalu high beam, low beam, high beam, low beam. Saya tak nak silaukan orang yang datang depan kita. Bila ada ciri ni, kita akan sentiasa ada high beam bila tak ada kereta depan, dan membantu kita tengok dengan lebih jauh dan lebih selamat lagi. So that's a feature yang tak banyak orang sembang lah, tapi aku suka. And this car memang dia punya wheelbase dia panjang lagi daripada kereta sebelum ni. And you see dekat cabin ni nampaklah lapang dia tu. Also, hang akan perasan Honda tak bagi third row of seat. Kereta ni ada jual dengan third row of seat in some market, tapi dekat Malaysia I think dah 2 generation dia tak bagi dah third row of seats. And also dia dah buang the all-wheel drive-nya function, tinggal kat satu variant saja, iaitu variant V. So SUV ni memang ramai tengah orang minat, dan setengah orang rasa macam all-wheel drive tu should be a feature yang more widely available. Tapi sebenarnya kalau kita tengok market research, tak ramai orang appreciate pun all-wheel drive punya sistem ni. So there's no point, because SUV ni jarang pergi off-road, betul-betul off-road. Dia go mile off-roading, jalan-jalan yang macam masuk kebun, nak pergi ke air terjun, mana macam tu, dan tak perlu pun sistem all-wheel drive for the most part, sebab most modern cars ada traction control yang boleh handle dah keadaan-keadaan yang mild, slippery condition and all that kind of stuff. And also kenapa dia tak bagi the third row of seats, because I remember this from the previous generation punya launch. Dia kata dia punya market research shows that less than 15% of owners pakai the third row of seat, or they use it even less than 15% of the time. So therefore it's not a feature that is really that important. But bila dia tak bagi the third row of seat tu, apa yang dia dapat ialah the seating position untuk first and second row tu menjadi lebih lapang, dan dia boleh bagi boot yang besar, which I think makes more sense for most families. Dia ada keluarga yang akan nak juga third row of seat tu, so you tak boleh belilah, kita ni kena cari benda lain lah. But it seems for Honda, it seems to be working, sebab dia punya sales for CR-V is just fine. They've done their market research well, and that's, who cares, right? Among the unique features yang ada kat EHEV ni ialah dia orang ada noise cancelling technology untuk depan dan untuk belakang sekali. The result is that kereta ni memang rasa senyap. Dan satu lagi, bunyi yang you dengar macam bunyi enjin dalam kereta ni is fake lah, is fake sound. So the fake sound ni dia nak kata necessary tak juga, tapi necessary, sebab Honda ada satu feature yang dia panggil e-CVT. So it's not even a CVT, sebab kereta ni tak ada CVT. Dia ada electric motor that drives it most of the time, dan dia ada engine which drives it directly masa low load situation at between 80 to 120. So apa dia e-CVT tu? E-CVT tu sebenarnya is a thing that they do nak make the car feel like there's a gearbox. So dia kata so that sound yang keluar macam bunyi engine tu is fake. It's just a profile that they run on the motor that drops the top a little bit and drop a little bit, and just bagi rasa macam the gearbox. Now you might be thinking why? Because that is just the more natural as in the one that we're most familiar with. Because we are now moving to a time yang kalau you bawa kereta elektrik tak ada dah benda tu. But for now, most drivers still feel like they want to have that feeling, so Honda bagilah kat dia orang. And that's why they have that, and they have the fake sound being projected in to make it correlate dengan the acceleration profile yang dia bagi dengan dia electric motor. So it's a nice little system. I don't necessarily think it's necessary, tapi it seems to work for Honda. All well and good, options are nice for everybody. Bukan semua orang suka benda yang sama yang kita suka. Other than that, mungkin kat sini kita tengok dia dah ada sekarang Android Auto dengan Apple CarPlay wireless, Android Auto tak wireless. The other thing that I want to talk about in this car is the interior ni sekarang all black. I do not like black roof lining sebab kalau duduk kat belakang especially nampak slightly smaller the cabin than it actually is. But Malaysia being Malaysia, kita seems to feel that black roof liner feels more sporty and more premiums, and what the market wants, the market gets. The steering is typical Honda, beautiful design. I like Honda punya steering for quite some time. It's 3-spoke. Cuma aku tak tahu mana butang nak tukar screen tu. Aku tak ingat macam mana nak buat. It's really annoying me right now. It should be just something obvious kat depan ni, tapi tak ada kat sini. So that's one thing that aku nak complain sikit lah. If this is the first time Honda bawa masuk the hybrid drive system dengan the 2-liter engine. The 2-liter hybrid ni typically in the US it appears in the Accord and in this car, tapi the previous Accord dia tak bawa masuk the hybrid version. Honda is now pushing hybrid quite hard. I think they are among Japanese brand yang inilah Honda lah yang push hybrid. Almost every model ada hybrid kecuali WR-V tak ada hybrid. Okay, kita masuk ke V variant pula tadi. Okay, sebelum aku lupa, aku nak cerita sikit ada beberapa perkara yang tadi masa briefing dan yang aku nampak yang aku rasa worth mentioning lah. So one of the things yang mereka mention tadi ialah dia punya braking profile dia untuk hybrid ni, dia orang tukar sikit, di mana masa awal braking tu dia increase the deceleration more than before, macam dia ada big dip kat situ deceleration tu, untuk bagi the car have a sharper braking response, which is I think a nice thing, because sometimes bila kita guna regen ni memang kadang-kadang mula-mula tu dia rasa lambat sikit tangkap. So it's nice that they've thought about that and given that. And satu lagi yang aku notice ialah dekat dashboard kereta ni, kelahang perasan ni ni ada line lekuk ni kan. So this is actually two different parts. Kalau tengok daripada tepi nampak this is a separate part. Kenapa dia buat separate part? Because separate part selalunya means more problems lah, nak bagi matching, nak bagi perfect. But nampak the line seems to be very even, so that means they've figured out how to solve that problem. Aku rasa the reason why dia bagi ni dua parts is because the airbag deployment daripada atas ni. So bila typically you have an airbag deployment on your dashboard, kena tukar the whole dashboard outer. So dengan macam ini dia hanya perlu replace the top part lah. So dekat depan ni tak ada terlibat dengan demi airbag deployment. So that should be better untuk customer in terms of dia orang punya insurance dan punya repair cost. And when car companies think of things like this, then I love them more lah, which means that they're thinking more about the customers. And also maybe because a lot of Japanese car companies, they tend to have their own insurance companies, so that will probably help them dengan dia orang punya own performance of their own insurance company as well. But either way, it's a benefit for the consumer, and for that you have to say thank you. Dia punya instrument cluster ni, sebelah kanan tu speedo, sebelah kiri tu kalau hang tengok sekilas pandang nampak macam rev counter, tapi sebenarnya bukan. Tengok betul-betul dekat bawah penghujung rev counter tu dia tulis 100. Takkanlah kereta ni 10,000 RPM kan, ataupun obviously not 100,000 RPM lah, and obviously not 1,000 RPM tu 100 atau apa. Tengok ujung tu dia tulis percentage power. Nah, kenapa dia letak percentage power? Sebab dia tak boleh tunjuk RPM. Kalau dia tunjuk RPM dan dia menipu. Kereta ni pasal dia ada cerita tadi pasal ECVT tu kan, dia berbunyi that's not RPM, tapi bunyi macam RPM, rise and fall, but it's actually power. Rise and fall, dari slight dip dia bagi untuk feel like as a gear change. Okay, nak cerita sikit about dia punya sound system. Yang dapat Bose punya premium sound system dalam EHEV ni. Dan of course aku tak boleh pasang lagu lah, nanti kena flag pula kan kat YouTube. Tapi I can tell you that dia orang punya of course the dynamic range untuk Bose tak ada isu sangat lah, even in this situation mana you have something like active noise cancellation that makes the cabin feel quiet. Somehow it still works lah with the active noise cancellation, that thing coming out, you still getting a nice clarity and a nice spatial imaging, and there's good separation between instruments and voice. I think this is something yang you might want to opt for kalau you seorang yang audiophile. And I'm especially happy that dia orang bagi on Spotify 90s punya playlist, which I know what it should sound like, and aku dengar dan I'm happy with it. So sekarang aku duduk dekat belakang CR-V, ini version V 1.5 turbo. Seat belakang ni memang aku puji sangat lah, sebab dia ada 8 setting sandaran. So ada 8 angle, dan ni paling santai lah. Dan paling santai ni memang kalau kau pakai neck tidur, boleh tidur, confirm boleh tidur. Sebab kau tengok ni, I'm 5'10 and a half, 180 cm, and ada 1.5 penumbuk lagi depan aku. And this is a really nice rear cabin. And of course kereta ni datang dengan the optional tinting. Kat belakang ni memang redup, elok, cantik. Dan satu lagi benda yang aku suka dalam variant V ni ialah dia punya headliner tak warna hitam. So the whole cabin nampak lebih terang. Satu lagi aku suka untuk variant V, dia datang dengan open pore punya wood trim dekat sekeliling dia punya piano black, which now aku rasa nampak lebih mewah berbanding dengan yang metal trim dalam variant hybrid. Apa suka yang mana, aku suka yang ni lagi lah. Kalau boleh pilih, aku nak interior ni dengan hybrid punya powertrain. Sekarang kita dah masuk dalam variant V, 1.5 turbo, 193 HP macam tu, and 240 lebih, 243 Nm torque kot, something like that. Yang ni gunakan CVT. And the first thing yang aku perasan ialah yang ni senyap lebih lagi daripada model sebelum ni. Sebab yang model sebelum ni memang ada sikit sporty lah. Honda kan suka bising sikit, kita dengar ada bunyi enjin tu. Tapi yang ni dia dah memang take a different approach, which it makes sense. Sebab bila kita tengok daripada luar, kereta dia pun dah nampak more mature. And even if you tengok dia punya Type R, dah 2 generation, is become softer and more comfortable, without compromising dia punya drivability and the handling or whatever as things that makes people excited about the Type R. So memang the entire company is maybe taking a slightly different approach now. Still nak bagi the sporty feel ke apa semua, tapi bukan by allowing the car to be noisy. But even then ada orang complain pasal NVH level on this one. Aku rasa dekat social media kau boleh carilah, akan nampak lah. But that's the nature of Honda. Memang kalau duduk banding dengan RAV4, yang ni memang akan bising lagi pada RAV4, because that's just the company punya character and their soul. So you tak boleh nak complain about the character of the cars, because memang karakter kereta tu untuk ni macam ni lah. It's like kalau you masuk Alfa Romeo, you bising bunyi enjin, dan terus belilah Alfa Romeo. Memang macam tu, nak buat macam mana kan. So now the CVT works well enough. It's still a CVT. You buat lah macam mana pun. Now I put on sports mode pun, all you get is just higher engine rev and maybe slightly better response. But honestly, I don't understand sports modes in CVT in SUVs, tapi gasak lah ni Honda. 90% of the time you are not going to use the sports mode, unless maybe kau naik genting dan hari tu anak kau tak komplain mabuk, boleh buat laju, tak apa. Otherwise you still not going to be using it. So, and I know, I baru perasan satu benda, iaitu dia punya seat ada lumbar support adjustment, which orang muda tak heran, tapi bila dah berumur sikit, then the lumbar support adjustment makes a lot of difference. You adjust it ke depan, masuk dan keluar, dan adjust atas bawah, so you boleh dapat just the right amount of support and just the right place to make long distance driving bearable. Ni kalau kau tak ada cerita sakit belakang ke, tak ada apa isu lah, tak usah tak payah cerita pasal lumbar support lah. But when you're starting to have back pains, this lumbar support is going to make your long distance drive far more bearable. So that's a really important plus for some people, maybe not for semua orang lah. Comparison, nak compare dengan EV, this car is what, 17,000 cheaper?
14,000
cheaper. So what you're not getting is the sound system. You're not getting the expensive Bose sound system, and you're not getting the
hybrid system.
Hybrid, and then that fancy headlamp, and itu tak dapat lah. I think there's one or two more things that you tak dapat at this price point. You get, apart from the fuel saving, you will get a quieter car kalau you bawa yang hybrid tu. Mungkin it's because of the noise cancellation technology and better isolation, because when you have an Atkinson cycle engine, they tend to be a bit rough, so companies do tend to put in a bit more effort dekat dia punya NVH, and because they ada noise cancellation, they can make the car feel quieter, and that car memang rasa lebih senyap daripada kereta ni. So you balance it out. I think there is enough benefit in the hybrid for you to go for it. But kalau ikut trend the City Civic and HRV, memang the fuel economy can be significant, tetapi there's a caveat there. You need to drive it like you want to save fuel lah. If you drive it like an idiot because it's got 355 Newton meter or 335 Newton meter and you want the acceleration, all that goes out the window. Fikir betul-betul yang mana satu you nak. So hari ni kita bawa laju sikit lah kan. And dekat belah-belah Gunung Semanggur, Lok Pongsu ni jalan memang agak not as bad as dulu, but now masih lagi maybe slightly undulating. And laju pun as a decent body control, very little float, and which is all that matters in a car like this, sebab you nak duduk spend most of the time on the highway. As long as dia tak ada some weird funky float and the steering feels solid and the car feels planted, that's good enough for me. Kat jalan belakang, kalau if you suddenly get wow, fantastic handling, itu kira bonus point lah. This car designed untuk highway cruising dengan family, so you just nak you boleh bawa at a decent clip of speed without feeling tired, without feeling having to constantly fidget and finesse the steering. So this car sits nicely, and for me that means they ada very good highway manners lah. And highway manners and city manners is all that really is really important yang untuk SUV keluarga macam ni. So on both counts I think this is fine, although I would like to see slightly better compliance bila langgar. See like this, dia banyak kereta sekarang dah I know this is small thing, tapi that final bit of compliance tu tak dapat. But then again, I remember this is the Honda thing, that suspension also tend to be a bit firmer than orang lain, sebab again that's the Honda character. So what you do get, kiranya kalau kau orang Honda, kaki Honda, nice, getting that sporty feel from your suspension, from your engine, from your whatever. And right now is more comfortable than the previous model. So if you're benchmarking against the previous model, menang. But if you're benchmarking against some of the other brands, it's okay lah. And you know lah, that other brand kan yang bagus tu kan, that one tak nak buat apa lah. But they're not as big as Honda lah in terms of numbers that they can sell, right? That's the real SUV benchmark lah, kalau you nak benchmark. Okey, sampai situ aja video kita hari ni. Kalau boleh tekan butang like dan kongsi dan kawan-kawan, dan macam biasa komen sikit hampa setuju ke tidak dalam aku punya assessment of the latest Honda CR-V. Dan kalau hampa akan pilih variant V ataupun variant hybrid. Dan kalau boleh tekan butang subscribe, seramai lagi belum subscribe. Papan Malaysia Ibrahim, kita jumpa lagi insya-Allah.